special, said Twig, and snorted.
Yes, said Spelda. Even the sky pirates recognized the fact that when they saw you,
she added softly.
That is why your father...
Her voice faltered.
That is why you must leave home.
Twig froze. Leave home? What did she mean by that? He spun round and stared at his mother. She was weeping. I don't understand. Do you want me to go?
Of course I don't, Twig,
she sobbed.
But you'll be 13 in less than a week. An adult. What will you do then? You cannot fell wood like your father. You're not built for it. And where will you live? The cabin is already too small for you, and now that the sky pirates know about you...
Twig twisted the knot of his hair round and round his finger. 3 weeks earlier, he had gone with his father far into the deep woods, where wood trolls felled and fashioned the wood that they sold to the sky pirates. Whereas his father could walk upright beneath the lowest branches, Twig had to stoop. And even that wasn't enough. Time and time again, he knocked his head until his scalp had become a mass of angry red grazes. In the end, Twig had no option but to crawl on his hands and knees to the clearing. Our latest felling recruit, Tum-Tum had said to the sky pirate in charge of delivery that morning. The pirate glanced over his clipboard and looked Twig up and down. Looks too tall, he said, and went back to his paperwork. Twig stared at the sky pirate. Tall and upright, he looked magnificent with his tricorn hat and tool-leathered breastplate, his parowings and waxed side whiskers. His coat was patched in places, but was, with its ruffs, tassels, golden buttons and braid, nonetheless splendid for that. Each of numerous objects that hung from special hooks seemed to shout adventure. Twig found himself wondering who the sky pirate had fought with that cutlass with its ornately jeweled hilt, and what had caused the nick in its long curved blade. He wondered what marvels the sky pirate had seen through his telescope, what walls he had scaled with the grappling irons, what distant places his compass had led him to. Suddenly the sky pirate looked up again. He caught Twig staring at him and raised a quizzical brow. Twig stared at his feet. Tell you what, the sky pirate said to Tum-Tum. There's always a place for a tall young man on the sky ship. No, said Tum-Tum shortly. Thank you very much for the offer, he added politely. But no. Tum-Tum knew his son wouldn't last 10 minutes on board ship. The sky pirates were shiftless, shameless rogues. They would slit your throat as soon as look at you. It was only because they paid so well for the buoy and Deepwood timber that the wood trolls had anything to do with them all. The sky pirate shrugged. Just a thought, he said, and turned away. Pity, though, he muttered. As Twig crawled back through the deep woods behind his father, he thought of the ships he had watched flying overhead, sails full, soaring off, up and away. Skywriting, he whispered, and his heart quickened. Surely, he thought, there are worse things to do. Back in the wood troll cabin, Spelda thought otherwise. Oh, those sky pirates, she grumbled. Tum-Tum should never have taken you to meet them in the first place. Now they'll be back for you, as sure as my name's spelled as Snatchwood. But the sky pirate I saw didn't seem bothered whether I joined the crew or not, said Twig. That's what they pretend, said Spelda. But look what happened to Hobblebark and Hogwart. Seized from their beds they were, and never seen again. Oh, Twig, I couldn't bear it if that happened to you. It would break my heart. Outside, the wind howled through the dense, deep woods. As darkness fell, the air was filled with the sounds of the wakening night creatures. Fromps coughed and spat, Corms squealed, while the great banderbear beat its monstrous hairy chest and yodeled for its mate. Far off in the distance, Quig could just make out the familiar rhythmical pounding of the slaughterers still hard at work. "What am I to do then?" Twig asked softly. Spelda sniffed.
"In the short term, you are to go and stay with Cousin Snetterbark," she said. "We've already sent the message, and he's expecting you. Just until things blow over," she added. "Sky willing, you'll be safe there."
"After that," said Twig, "I can come home again then, can I?"
"Yes,"
said Spelda slowly. Twig knew at once that there was more to come. "But," he said. Spelda trembled and hugged the boy's head to her chest.
"Oh, Twig, my beautiful boy," she sobbed. "There is something else I must tell you."
Twig pulled away and looked up at her troubled face. There were tears rolling down his own cheeks now. "What is it, mother mine?" he asked nervously.
"Oh, Glomglazer!"
Spelda cursed.
"This isn't easy."
She looked at the boy tearfully.
"Although I have loved you as my own since the day you arrived, you are not my son, Twig. Nor is Tum-Tum your father."
Twig stared in silent belief. "Then, who am I?" he said. Spelda shrugged.
"We found you," she said. "A little bundle, all wrapped up in a shawl, at the door of our tree."
"Found me?" Twig whispered. Spelda nodded, leaned forwards, and touched the cloth knotted at Twig's neck. Twig flinched. "My comfort cloth?" he said. "The shawl?" Spelda sighed.
"The shawl we found you wrapped in. The shawl you won't be parted from, even now."
Twig stroked the fabric with trembling fingers. He heard Spelda sniff.
"Oh, Twig," she said. "Although we are not your parents, Tum-Tum and I have loved you like our very own. Tum-Tum asked me to say goodbye for him. He said—"
She stopped, overwhelmed with sadness.
"He said to tell you that whatever happens, you must never forget. He loves you."
Now that the words were said, Spelda abandoned herself to grief completely. She wailed with misery, and uncontrolled sobbing racked her entire body. Twig felt across and wrapped his arms right round his mother's back. "So I am to leave at once," he said.
"It's for the best,"
Spelda said.
"But you will return, Twig, won't you?"
she added uncertainly.
"Believe me, my beautiful boy, I didn't ever want to have to tell you the end of the tale, but—" "Don't cry," said Twig. "This isn't the end of the tale."
Spelda looked up and sniffed.
"You're right," she said, and smiled bravely. "It's more than a beginning, isn't it?" "Yes, that's what it is, Twig. A new start."